Hello, what's going on YouTube? This is J Money here, and I am bringing you some news, which everybody probably knows, but, I'm just going to give my 2 cents on it. But anyway, we're going to go over, exactly what happened here in Ycs Dallas. But before that, I want to go ahead and start with the decks that I thought were actually going to take it. I either thought it was going to be Pendulum Magicians or ABCs. Reason why is because Pendulum Magicians were just still an incredibly consistent deck, and they hardly ever bricked. And they didn't really struggle breaking hard to break boards because Double Iris was at 3, Wavering Eyes was at 3, Stargraph just gave you extra cards, Time Graph would have just shut everything down. Bidding out Sleeper wouldn't have been a problem, but, and with ABCs, you only need half the deck to function, and the rest of the deck is just text. And so you can play as many counters as you see fit with half the deck. And I thought that would be enough to either put one of those two decks up to the top, but apparently I was wrong. So here's what really happened. Now, Ycs Dallas, by the end of day 2, we had the top 32. 29 of them were spirals, which is clear sign that it might be tier 0, because the last time that happened, Pepe was at full power, and 29 out of 32 spots were Pepe, and emergency ban list came in and just reduced the deck's speed down because it was pretty ridiculous. 29 out of 32 decks should not be taken up by one deck. So yeah. And don't get me wrong, this isn't spiral format at all. I mean, don't get it twisted. This is hand trap format, to where if you're not playing at least 7, you're losing. And so, this is just typical spiral deck here. Granted, I thought most of them were going to be resorting to a firewall spam because we didn't have Trigate, but a lot of people only really played 2 max. Which was kind of interesting. But, screw Spiral. Let's not talk about Spirals. Let's talk about the other 2 decks that weren't, Spiral. And one is the Hand Trap deck with an Invoked Engine, which is actually not too bad. In fact, a lot of people, even Spiral players, have built their deck for going second and actually have won die rolls and made their opponents go first, which you would think that would be kind of iffy, but it's actually a pretty good strategy, because if you are playing 7 to 11 to 15 hand traps and you open a few of them, you can cripple your opponent's first turn play, and your play has a much better shot, unless your opponent has the same number of hand traps. Then both players are kind of in a neutral zone, sort of say. But if you're maining that many hand traps, it's kind of understood that you don't want to go first, because if you go first and open all those, you kind of have a bad hand. So I understand where some people are coming from. But this person, he played a lot of 2-ofs when it came to hand traps, which is good. He said, he mentioned that, if you open multiple of a certain hand trap, it's dead, because most are hard once per turns. But if you play 2 of a lot more hand traps, you'll often see 2 different ones, and that's what you want. One hand trap isn't really going to stop a deck, but two of a certain hand trap can do some damage. 2 is often enough. 3 is just extra security. This guy was also playing a copy of a Zephyr and a copy of Gaia. I only thought people were going to play a copy of Gaia, because I thought everybody was going to be playing Gateway to Chaos, and that's why I played Oracle of Zephyr, because I didn't think people would be smart enough to check the Zephyr cards, but they were. And this guy played some of his own with set rotation, which is smart, because set rotation is probably the better field spell searcher now, because it gets around not only Ash, but it gets around Droll and Lockbird as well. So yeah, there's that. The guy also played 3 invocations, because again, Droll is really, really heavy. So he wants to hard draw this quite a bit, because if he plays Meltdown and gets into his Alistair and he gets drolled, then he basically loses. He also teched in Book of Eclipses, which I didn't really think about at the time, but it does turn off Sleeper, and the last resort leaves the Sleeper, which makes it to where you can actually target it, and it turns off Baguska, you know, the drunken elephant that's now on some fluffy pillows like a damn Care Bear. But Book of Eclipse, it was actually solid. I was really thinking about actually Swords of Concealing Light, but then I thought, nah, it's not a bad idea. It's a bad idea because Sleeper can just pop it. But, you know, I was so stupid to not think that Book of Eclipse was still equally as similar. But moving on, you know, that was just one of the top 32. The other two that top 32 was this deck right here, Trick Stars. You know, I knew that the moment Destrudo came out, every deck that wasn't True Draco would splash it in the deck, and it just accomplished just half of the win condition of Trick Stars, which kind of makes it a pretty good mana call. Once they pay half or pay 4K, I mean, if you're playing a few burn cards, like my build is playing like 3 Blazing and 3 Magic Cylinder, which is just like, it's just an extra win more card because I'm already going to be put in the lead by things like Darkroom and Nightmare, you know, the Trickstar stuff, and a lot of times I don't want to get overrun, so playing like Summon Limit in the main deck was actually pretty good. You know, if you're playing against like a deck like Spiral, they have to basically open Super Agent or, you know, or just keep that set, don't flip it over, and if they reveal Super Agent, blow up like a random like sets, Chain Summoning or Magic Cylinder, and they summon another monster, you can flip this over and just keep them locked down, and yeah, you're in a good spot. But this deck is, you know, a lot of people underestimated this deck, but I didn't. I thought that the deck would see a little bit more tops because of Destrudo and the fact that you're paying half, and every deck is playing it that ain't True Dracos and Pendulums. I mean, some Pendulum decks can use it, but not Magician Pendulums. But yeah, I really wasn't surprised when I saw Trickstars topping, because, you know, paying your half is a big deal, even if, you know, the Trickstar player isn't going first, because all they have to do is really have a couple of these on board and burn you, flip this over once. You know, if they're smart enough, you know, they'll probably have Kaijus in the main deck just to get to out the Sleeper, because outing Sleeper is really what's going to give this deck an edge and give it a chance to actually fight back rather than getting their monsters blown up. But yeah, this is basically what happened to YCS, just a bunch of Spirals and a bunch of hand trap decks, you know. But hey, you have to. Sometimes you have to. But, you know, that's where we are. This is our first look at the new format. I'm not too excited, but, you know, I believe that some of us can actually be the smart ones and actually adapt to this and not just play Spiral, but, you know, have the certain hand traps needed. But yeah, day 1, by the end of round 6, the top 10 tables had 19 Spirals and 1 ABC player, and I was really rooting for that guy. I was hoping the ABC player would actually make it to the top, but, you know, he lost out probably to Trickstars or the Invoked or whatever. You know, that's probably what he was prepared for. His deck was probably fine-tuned to fight against Spiral, but probably complete, you know, Spiral and Pendulum, because that's what I would have sided against. I would have sided against Spiral and Pendulum, and probably would have completely disregarded Trickstars and Invoked. Invoked is like a dark horse kind of thing, because it's like a deck that will, if you're not ready for it, it will beat you. You know, if you don't have anything sided against it, you know, it's gonna stomp you in the face. But, you know, the biggest thing here is I did not think Invoked had the ability to go second all that much without baiting Kaijus. But this guy, he was on some other shit. But this is everything I got based on what happened at Ycs Dallas. And so, yeah, let me know what you guys think about what happened. Did I miss anything? You know, is this really going to be a tier 0 format truly? I mean, we are getting Tri-Gate Wizard in 2 weeks. You know, that's something else you gotta keep in mind. Tri-Gate Wizard is not far off at all, so the deck will get even more powerful. You know, but then again, so will any other Link deck, i.e. World Chalice, but you know, World Chalice and Spirals are equally as fragile, but Spirals are just more consistent. You know, it could be a true rock, paper, scissors battle between those two decks, who knows. Thank you guys for watching. This is J Money, and I'm signing out.